One of the best ways of understanding precisely how your enterprise social network is being used is to visualize the activity using a social graph. This two-part series will look at ways of presenting the activity and connections in your social network to illustrate where it's working well and where further work is required. In this first part, we'll look at the basic principles of social graphs. Members of the network are represented by nodes, so here we can see a very small network of 5 people. The connections between members are represented by edges. This gives us a basic overview of the way people are connected, but it doesn't tell us much more than that because it doesn't describe the nature of the relationships between each member. We need to decide the type of relationship we want to represent. Social graphs often reflect who follows who, but I find that a far more useful relationship to show is the number of comments exchanged between members, as this more accurately represents the extent to which members are collaborating. So we can change the weight of the edges to indicate the number of comments each member has given to and received from other members. Of course, not all relationships are equal, so it's valuable to distinguish between comments created and comments received. We can do this by changing the size of the node to indicate the number of comments created, and the colour to indicate the number of comments received. Now at a glance we can see the rather more complex nature of relationships between network members. We can see that Frida has active connections with Edward and Harriet, but receives far more comments than she creates. We can see that Deborah, although connected to most of the other members, doesn't have a particularly active connection with any of them. Of course, analysing such a small network is unrealistic, so in part 2 of this series we'll look at how these principles can be applied to much larger networks, and how different layout techniques can be used to highlight communication between departments and regions within an organisation.